Well, here at home, a number of pro-Palestinian civil society groups had planned to stage a protest outside the Department of International Relations and Cooperations tomorrow. But it has since emerged that they failed to secure permission for the march. For more on this story, we are now joined in studio by Nonkululeko Mntambo, a member of Palestinian Solidarity Movement. Nonkululeko, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, what happened? Is the march going ahead tomorrow? Give us some details.
So unfortunately, the march can't go ahead because the Metro Police said that we had too many people who would be attending, and they couldn't guarantee the safety and so on and so forth. But yes, the march has been postponed, so it is happening, but just not as planned. In terms
so when
of
you
time.
say it is happening but not as planned, explain that.
Oh no, it just means that at a certain time, it's just not happening tomorrow.
Okay.
But the time will come when we will protest.
Why are you particularly targeting tomorrow? Why were you targeting tomorrow to protest?
Yes, so there was a workshop with DIRCO, and basically they were discussing foreign policy in South Africa. And we just found it fitting that at a discussion of foreign policy that these things need to be put to the fore. And having seen the lineup of questions and even the discussion topics of the day, they didn't seem to have anything to do with the issue, as if it didn't exist. And that's why it became present that we have to come and make these issues present to the people inside the room, or else they're just going to skip over them and act like there was a consultative meeting which didn't actually consult on the issue at hand.
Were you able to engage with DIRCO with regards to the concerns that you have and the fact that they're not addressing, or they seem not to be addressing, issues that you would like to put forward?
We've spoken to DIRCO. We've sent letters, we've sent emails, we've done the typical activist thing, and the responses were not adequate in terms of responding as pertains to the resolution of the government, the government and DIRCO itself. So yeah, DIRCO was engaged quite thoroughly. And
what is the response from them?
So the response basically has been we will look into it. The issue will come up, and the issue has not been looked into thoroughly. The issue has not come up, so that's why it came to the point where the protest was planned.
Now, what would you ideally like to hear from DIRCO going forward with regards to your concerns? So
what we would love to hear is basically what they said they would do. There's nothing creative about what we're asking for. The resolution of the ANC in the beginning of the year was a unanimous, was a unanimous unconditional downgrading of the South African embassy in Israel to a liaison office. And since then, there has been no move towards that. There has been some shifting around the ambassador. There hasn't been any secure action towards the fact, and we're nearly at the end of the year. And what we fear is that once the year has gone by, it will be forgotten and be another page in the resolutions that weren't fulfilled. Now,
you just touched on an issue where you say that there's concerns with regards to the ambassador position or role within Israel. Now, Minister Sisulu has come out and stated that Ambassador Ngombane has not been reinstated, and he's gone back there to sort out or finalize issue pertaining to his family still being there.
Yes.
And the fact that when he was recalled back into South Africa, everything happened so quickly, and he just picked up and left. And now it's for him to go back and clean up and come back into the country. Now, you seem to doubt government stance with this regard.
I think that we're being backed into a corner that could very easily become petty. I don't think it's ours to discuss the issues or the familial relations of the ambassador. ours is to have a liaison office where the embassy was, right? And for us to be put in a situation where we must we must verify whether the ambassador has family issues itself I think is something that's quite low. It's quite a base action to tell someone, no, you don't have family issues. And I think that being backed into that corner is quite, it's wrong, it's unfair, and it's something that we will not participate in. Yes.
Now, Nonkululeko, in recent months, it looks like there's simply no solution in sight in this Israeli-Palestinian impasse. Opposing sides seem to have taken hardline positions. And as a pro-Palestine movement, what would you like to see happening to deal with these issues that they're facing?
So for us, I think and it has been the stance of the boycott, divestment and sanction movement since its beginning that the voice of the Palestinian needs to be heard, right? I don't think we can stand here and impose a solution on them, because also we just don't know the internal politics as well as they do, because it's their country. I think ours is to support in every way that we can, and especially when the way is non-violent and the way secures South Africans as well and Africans as a whole. And I think that's why the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement exists, and that's why we want the downgrade. Obviously, for us, we'd rather not have anything at all. But the downgrading is something that we want to begin with, just to empower the Palestinian people to be able to, and even empower the Israeli people to be able to come to some sort of solution. But yeah, we can't, I don't think any one of us can come up with a solution for a people that are not our own.
Now let's go back to the two-day meeting at DIRCO. What I understand, these are consultative talks by a panel, just to quote, on foreign policy set up by Minister Lindiwe Sisulu to shape South Africa's foreign policy in general going forward. What would you say needs to change in how South Africa conducts its foreign policy currently?
I believe that South Africa must not lose its identity. So we come from a Mandela that said, your enemies are not my enemies, right? And I believe that that's the stance that the moral identity that South Africa must never lose, that we have established friends and established relationships, and at the end of the day we must put the interest of Africans and oppressed people first, right? And going into foreign policy, that's how we need to conduct ourselves. Obviously there's things that are in the balance right now economically and so on and so forth, but I think as a summation of the many things that need to change, it's coming back to the moral identity of your enemies are not my enemies. Yes.
Now, why aren't you part of these discussions as a civil society to influence the direction where you would ideally like to see South Africa take with regards to its foreign policy?
Oh no, so yeah, there's people everywhere. Yes, so yes, those discussions are happening from people on the inside of those meetings and people on the outside of those meetings. However, the frustration is that the issue is consistently being skipped over. There's the terror of the Middle East that, oh my, there's a lot of things happening and nothing can be solved, and then the issue is skipped over, and that's the frustration, I guess, that we're having on our side in terms of this discussion and where it's going.
Now, if you had Minister Sisulu's ear for 2 minutes, what would you say to her? How would you approach and table the issues to her so that she has a clear understanding of what you're calling for, and in the department taking it forward, or as a country taking it forward?
Well, I think I want to first say unequivocally that the issue of Palestine and Israel is not an issue that is separate from Africans. We saw in South Africa itself, when we called for sanctions, Israel being one of the last countries who gave us those sanctions. You know, we know the power of an Israeli regime in South Africa and what their resistance to South Africa can do to us. So it's not an issue that is something that we're fetching and bringing here for Africans to play with, right? But secondly, that the Palestinian people are not a people that are foreign to us, right? They are people that have helped us, that have served us, that have trained us, that have given us resources at a time of great need. And at this moment in time, we're not asking for the world. We're asking for what the movement has promised us and what DIRCO has promised us itself. And if that could be fulfilled, I think we wouldn't have any issues.
Nonkululeko, thank you so much for joining us. We'll leave it there for now. That was Nonkululeko Mntambo, a member of Palestine Solidarity Movement here in South Africa, joining us live in studio.